The rain felt like punishment. Zuri Adebayo stood before the black glass doors, water streaming down her face, though she couldn't tell any more where the rain ended and her tears began. Her phone screen glowed through the downpour, 8,500,000 Nigerian nairas. Due in 48 hours. The numbers blurred as her hand trembled. We have no choice left, Zuri. Her mother's voice echoed in her head from this morning's call. Your father is dying. No choice. The words had followed her through 3 job rejections today, through the loan shark's laughter when she'd begged, through every locked door in this city that had promised her dreams but delivered only exhaustion. She pushed through the entrance. Red lights bathed a corridor that smelled of expensive cologne and cigar smoke, the scent of men who could afford anything. Her sneakers squeaked against marble floors. Wrong shoes. Wrong girl. Wrong life. The security guard looked at her with something worse than contempt, pity. He'd seen this before. Girls like her, desperate and drenched, walking into places they'd never walk out of the same. Top floor, he said quietly. Elevators waiting. Each floor that passed felt like descending, not rising. The doors opened to reveal black marble stretching toward floor-to-ceiling windows. Soul glittered below like scattered diamonds, beautiful and untouchable. Just like everything else in this city. Behind an obsidian desk sat a man who looked carved from the same cold stone. Sharp black suit. Sharper eyes. Kang Jae-minute didn't stand when she entered. He simply watched her drip rainwater onto his expensive floor. Zuri forced her voice to work. I need money. Tonight. I heard, you pay well for. His voice cut through her words like ice. She couldn't say it. Couldn't name what she'd come here to sell. He stood, moving toward her with the controlled grace of something predatory. She closed her eyes, every muscle tensing. Her heart hammered against her ribs. This was it. The moment she'd crossed an ocean to avoid, now inevitable. Please God, if you're still listening. Please, she whispered, voice breaking. Just make it fast. If you're watching from Lagos, Seoul, or anywhere in between, hit that like button, because what happens next will shatter everything you think you know about this story. Subscribe, because this man is about to do something no Mafia boss has ever done. Silence stretched between them. She waited for hands that didn't come. For the end of the girl she used to be. Then his voice, unexpected and quiet, sit down. You're going to tell me why. Her eyes flew open. He'd moved back to his desk, gesturing to the chair across from him. Not touching. Not advancing. Just waiting. What kind of monster asks questions first? Zuri's legs barely carried her to the chair. She sat, water pooling beneath her, and the words came out in fractured pieces. My father. Lagos. His dying. Her voice cracked. Lung disease. The hospital, they tripled the cost. Surgery or he has 3 weeks. She showed him her phone, the impossible numbers glowing between them. I work 3 jobs here. I sleep 4 hours. I've begged everyone. There's nothing left except. She couldn't finish. Her hands shook so violently she nearly dropped the phone. Jae-minute moved to a small bar cart. She tensed, expecting alcohol, liquid courage before the transaction. Instead, he poured water into a crystal glass and placed it in front of her. The gesture was so unexpected, so careful, that something cracked in her chest. Drink, he said. Not a command. An observation of her need. She obeyed, the water cool against her raw throat. What illness specifically? He asked, returning to his seat. Which hospital? How much exactly? The questions were clinical, precise. His voice remained cold, but his eyes, dark and unreadable, held something she couldn't name. Recognition, maybe. Or memory. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, she whispered. Mainland Hospital, Lagos. 8.5 million naira. She did the conversion in her head, about $20,000. For surgery, medication, 3 months recovery care. He typed something on his phone, his expression unchanged. You're 24. You've been in Seoul 14 months. You work as a cafe server, a convenience store night clerk, and you clean offices on weekends. Her blood went cold. How do you? I know everyone who walks through that door. His eyes lifted to hers. What I don't know is why you're a virgin. Heat flooded her face. How could you possibly? You carry yourself like someone who's never been touched. Like your body is still entirely your own. He leaned back. Until tonight, you believed it was. Shame burned through her. I used to pray, she said, voice hollow. Every night. I believed God would provide. That hard work and faith would be enough. She laughed bitterly. Now I'm here, selling the last thing I have left to a gangster. God must be laughing. God isn't paying attention, J Minute said flatly. If he were, girls like you wouldn't end up in offices like mine. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and for the first time, something shifted in his expression, irritation. Boss. A voice came through the speaker, urgent. The shipment issue needs you now. We've got 2 crews ready to kill each other at the dock. I'm busy. Silence crackled on the other end. Boss, you never. Minute Sook. J Minute's voice dropped to something dangerous. Handle it. He hung up. Zuri stared. Even she, who knew nothing of this world, understood what she just witnessed. Men like him didn't delay business. Especially not for girls like her. Her eyes drifted to the photographs on his desk. One showed a younger J Minute beside an older man with the same sharp features, both unsmiling, the older man's hand gripping the boy's shoulder like ownership. Another showed a different man entirely, older than J Minute, handsome, posed beside a stunning woman in a wedding dress. They looked like royalty. Like people who'd never known rain or desperation. Your brother, she asked. Taehyun. The boss. Something bitter crept into his voice. I'm just the wolf who does his hunting. Before she could respond, J Minute stood. His hands moved to his collar, fingers working the buttons of his shirt. Zuri's breath caught. Here it was. The moment she'd braced for. The price she'd agreed to pay. She closed her eyes again, willing herself to disappear inside her own head. To become numb. To survive this the way she'd survived everything else Soul had thrown at her. But instead of approaching, she heard fabric rustle. Then his voice, quiet and strange. Open your eyes. She did. J Minute had turned around, his shirt open, his back facing her. And Zuri forgot how to breathe. His back was a map of violence. Scars crisscrossed his skin, some old and silvered, others newer and still pink. Burns. Knife wounds. Marks that told stories of systematic torture, of pain inflicted not in passion but with cold precision. These weren't the scars of street fights or gang wars. These were lessons carved into flesh. What? She whispered. He didn't turn around. You think you're the only one who ran out of choices? J Minute's voice came quiet, almost distant. These are from my father. Training. Punishment. Lessons. He traced one long scar across his shoulder blade. This one, I was 12. I hesitated before shooting a rival's dog. My father said mercy was weakness. He turned to face her, and Zuri saw more scars across his chest, his ribs. A burn mark shaped like a cigarette near his collarbone. You think selling yourself is your only option. His eyes locked onto hers. I thought obeying was mine. Becoming the monster he wanted. Letting him carve away everything soft until only the weapon remained. He pulled his shirt back on, his movements slow, deliberate. I was wrong. So are you. Zuri's mind reeled. I don't understand. I'm going to pay your father's medical bills. All of it. He buttoned his shirt with the same precision he'd unbuttoned it. Every naira. The words didn't make sense. What? Condition, you work for me. Legitimately. He sat back down, pulling out his phone. I run underground businesses, yes. Money laundering, gambling, protection. But I also own 3 legal tech startups. Software development, digital marketing, app design. He looked up. You said you're a digital illustrator. Prove it. I don't. You keep your dignity. I get an employee. Your father lives. He started typing. I'll transfer half tonight. The rest when you start Monday. Sign a contract. Pay taxes. Normal work. Zuri felt like she was drowning in air. Why would you do this? His fingers stopped moving. For a long moment, he stared at the screen, and when he spoke, his voice carried a weight that made her chest ache. 10 years ago, I watched my mother die in a hospital hallway. She'd been bleeding internally for hours. My father stood there, phone in hand, refusing to authorize the expensive treatment. J-Minut's jaw clenched. He said, "We don't waste money on weak vessels. She died at dawn. I'm sorry. I swore that night on her body, in that hallway, I'd never let money kill someone again. Not when I had the power to stop it." He looked at her, and for the first time, she saw past the cold exterior to the broken boy underneath. "You walked in here ready to destroy yourself to save your father. That kind of love, it deserves better than my world." Before Ziri could respond, the door burst open. Minitsuk stood there, his face flushed, phone pressed to his ear. "Boss, we have a problem. Your brother wants to see you. Now. He's at the main house, and he glanced at Zuri nervously, his asking questions. J-Minut's expression hardened instantly, the vulnerability vanishing like it had never existed. "Tell him I'm handling personal business. Boss," he specifically said. "Minitsuk." The name came out like a blade. "Tell him." Minitsuk's eyes flickered to Zuri, and she saw it clearly, concern. Warning. Fear not for himself, but for her. "Yes, boss." He backed out, closing the door. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. J-Minut stood, moving to the window, his silhouette dark against Seoul's glittering lights. "Last chance, Ziri Adebayo." He didn't turn around. "You leave now, you leave with nothing. You stay, I transfer half the money tonight, the rest Monday. But you'll be connected to me. My world isn't safe. My family isn't safe. And once you're in." He finally looked back at her. "There's no clean exit." Zuri's phone buzzed. A message from her mother. "Doctor says maybe 2 weeks now. Please, baby. Anything." She saw her father's face, the man who'd carried her on his shoulders through Lagos markets, who'd sold his taxi to pay for her art supplies, who'd hugged her at the airport and whispered, "Go make us proud." She stood, her legs steadier now, and crossed the room. J-Minut extended his hand. Not a handshake. An offering. A lifeline wrapped in thorns. "I'll stay," Zuri said, and placed her hand in his. His fingers closed around hers, warm, surprisingly gentle, and absolutely certain. "Then welcome to the dangerous side of survival," he said quietly. As he released her hand to pick up his phone, beginning the transfer, Ziri heard Minitsuk's voice through the door, muttering to someone, "Taehyun won't like this." Not at all. Somewhere in the building's security room, cameras tracked every angle of J-Minut's office. On one monitor, a figure watched from another location entirely, Taehyun's private office across the city. But it wasn't Taehyun viewing the feed. A woman's silhouette stood before the screen, her head tilted with interest, a phone pressed to her ear. "Yes," she said softly. "He's finally made a mistake. Track the girl. I want to know everything." 2 weeks later. Zuri's fingers flew across the tablet, adding final touches to the app icon design. The tech company's open office buzzed around her, developers arguing over code, the coffee machine hissing, K-pop humming from someone's headphones. Normal. Brilliantly, beautifully normal. Wow. Her teammate Jiho leaned over her shoulder. "That gradient work is incredible. How did you?" "Lots of practice during sleepless nights," Ziri said, smiling. She'd been terrified that first Monday. Convinced everyone would see Mafia boss's charity case stamped on her forehead. Instead, they saw her portfolio, her work, her talent. The relief had made her cry in the bathroom. Her father's first post-surgery video call had made her cry harder. Seeing him sitting up, breathing without gasping, smiling, actually smiling, had broken something open inside her that she'd kept locked for months. "Beautiful work, Ziri." She turned. J-Minut stood at her cubicle entrance, hands in his pockets, looking utterly out of place in his expensive black suit among the hoodies and sneakers. "Mr. Kang." She stood automatically. "I didn't know you were visiting today. I own the company. I visit when I want." But his eyes were warm, scanning her designs. "These are excellent. Better than I expected. Should I be insulted?" The corner of his mouth twitched. Almost a smile. "You should be proud." He placed a small bag on her desk, Nigerian chin-chin snacks from the specialty store in Itaewon. He'd brought them twice now. Researched her favorites. "You didn't have to. You work better when you're not hungry." He turned to leave, then paused. Conference room 3. 30 minutes. Bring your tablet. That night, they worked late on a client pitch. Just the two of them, office empty, Sol's night lights painting the windows. How did you get them? Zuri asked quietly, breaking the focused silence. J-Minute looked up from his laptop. What? The scars. His expression shuttered. I told you. My father. I mean specifically. The stories behind them. She set down her stylus. You showed me, but you didn't tell me. He was quiet so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, my father believed pain made us stronger. That fear was the only real motivator. He touched his chest absently, where she knew scars hid under his shirt. Taehyun became his masterpiece. Perfect, obedient, brilliant. Everything a Mafia heir should be. And you? I became his disappointment. The words were flat, factual. I cried when he made me watch executions. I hesitated before hurting people. I asked why instead of just obeying. Because you felt too much, Zuri said softly. His eyes met hers, and something passed between them, recognition, understanding, a connection neither had expected. Yes, he admitted. And in my world, that's the most dangerous weakness. The moment stretched, charged and fragile. Zuri's breath caught. The office door buzzed. They jerked apart. The next morning, an expensive gift basket sat on her desk. Imported chocolates, French wine, exotic flowers. The card read, beautiful work. We should meet. A friend. Zuri barely had time to process it before J-Minute appeared, his face thunderous. Who sent this? He grabbed the card, his knuckles white. Who? I don't know, I just. He was already on his phone. Minute-suk. Zuri's office. Now. Security detail, full coverage. I want cameras on her 24/7. J-Minute, you're overreacting. Someone is watching you. His voice was deadly quiet. Someone who knows where you work, what you do, how good you are. That's not admiration. That's hunting. 2 days later, Kang Taehyun visited. He was everything J-Minute wasn't: warm smile, easy charm, designer casual clothes that somehow looked more expensive than J-Minute's tailored suits. He moved through the office like sunlight, greeting everyone by name. So you're Zuri. He extended his hand, his handshake firm and friendly. My brother never mentioned he hired such talented staff. Your work is exceptional. Thank you, Mr. Kang. Please, Taehyun. He glanced at J-Minute, who stood rigid nearby. We're practically family now, aren't we? Anyone who impresses my brother this much. He smiled. You should come to dinner this weekend. Our family home. I'd love to introduce you to my wife. That's not necessary, J-Minute said coldly. Nonsense. It's just dinner. Taehyun's smile never wavered. Saturday, 7 p.m. I'll send a car. After he left, Zuri turned to J-Minute. He seems nice. Stay away from him. He's your brother. That's why I'm warning you. J-Minute's jaw clenched. Trust me, Zuri. Whatever you think you see in Taehyun, it's a mask. We all wear them in my family. His is just prettier than mine. That evening, Minute-suk appeared at J-Minute's office door, his expression troubled. Boss, we need to talk. About the girl. Her name is Zuri. About Zuri, then. Minute-suk closed the door. What if she's a plant? Rival families have tried this before. Pretty girl, sob story, gets close to you. She's not. J-Minute's voice was absolute. How can you be sure? Because I watched her almost destroy herself to save her father. Because she still has nightmares about that night she came to my office. She thinks I don't notice when she zones out. Because everything about her is real. He looked at Minute-suk. She's not a plant. She's a target. 3 days later, Zuri's father called post-recovery, walking, breathing clearly, making jokes. She took the video call in J-Minute's office, and when her father's face filled the screen, healthy, alive, laughing, she broke down completely. J-Minute stood awkwardly, then sat beside her. Slowly, carefully, he pulled her into his arms. He held like someone unpracticed in comfort, stiff, uncertain, but genuine. His heartbeat thundered against her ear. Thank you, she whispered into his chest. Thank you for giving me my father back. His arms tightened fractionally. Thank you for reminding me I'm still human. She pulled back, looking up at him. Their faces were inches apart. His eyes dropped to her lips. His phone shattered the moment. Later, reviewing security footage, they saw it, a figure following Zuri from the office to the subway. In one frame, the stalker's sleeve rode up. A tattoo marked his wrist. The Baekseong Mafia symbol. Someone from inside was hunting her. The Kang family estate made Jae-min's office look modest. Zuri stepped out of the car into a world of manicured gardens, stone fountains, and architecture that whispered old money and older blood. Stay close to me, Jae-min murmured, his hand hovering near her lower back. Tae-hyun greeted them at the entrance, all warmth and brotherly affection. Jae-min and Zuri, welcome. Please, come in. The dining room could have seated 20. Instead, 4 places were set at one end of a table that gleamed like dark water. A woman stood by the window, tall, elegant, beautiful in the way sharp things are beautiful. My wife, Hannah, Tae-hyun introduced. Hannah's smile was perfect. Her eyes were not. Z. What an exotic name. African, yes? Nigerian, Zuri said evenly. How fascinating. You must find Seoul so different. Hannah sat, gesturing for them to do the same. The food, the language, the culture. Do you find our men attractive? I've heard African women prefer, well, different physical attributes. The racism was wrapped in silk, but it was racism nonetheless. Hannah, Jae-min's voice cut like a knife. Zuri is here as my guest. Speak to her with respect or don't speak at all. Tae-hyun laughed, but it sounded forced. Jae-min, she's just curious. Hannah didn't mean. Yes, she did. Jae-min didn't look away from his sister-in-law. She means everything she says. That's what makes her dangerous. The dinner proceeded in tense silence, punctuated by Tae-hyun's attempts at pleasant conversation. Then, over dessert, he said casually, Jae-min, father's old business partners reached out. They want to revive the trade routes. Your specialty, wasn't it? Jae-min's fork froze halfway to his mouth. His face went absolutely pale. Those routes are closed, he said quietly. Are they? The profit margins were exceptional. With your expertise. They're closed. Each word was its own sentence. Zuri watched the exchange, confused. Trade routes? What kind of trade made Jae-min look like he'd been stabbed? The car ride back was silent until Zuri couldn't bear it anymore. What trade routes? Jae-min stared straight ahead, his jaw working. Finally, human trafficking. The words hit her like physical blows. Before I took over operations, that's what our family did. What my father built the empire on. His voice was hollow. Women, mostly. Desperate, foreign, alone. They'd be processed, sold, distributed. I shut it down 3 years ago when I inherited the territory. Tae-hyun's been trying to restart it ever since. Zuri's stomach turned. That lounge where we met. It wasn't always just gambling and money laundering. It was where they processed women. He finally looked at her, and his eyes were haunted. I inherited that location and converted it. Made it clean. But Tae-hyun wants it back. Wants the whole operation back. That's why I felt so wrong there. Her voice came out strangled. That's why the guard looked at me with pity. He thought. You walking in that night, desperate, foreign, alone, you looked exactly like the women they used to bring through. Jae-min's hands gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles went white. Tae-hyun thinks I brought you in as product. He's been monitoring you, waiting for me to process you, to fall back into the family business. When you didn't. He got suspicious. Started asking questions. Watching you. Jae-min pulled the car over abruptly, turning to face her. Zuri, I need you to understand something. My mother, she wasn't sick. Zuri's breath caught. She was killed by one of the clients who got violent during a transaction she witnessed. My father covered it up. Called it an accident. Told everyone she'd had a heart condition. His voice cracked. Tae-hyun believed him. Believed everything father said. But I was there that night. I saw the bruises. I heard her screaming. That's why you shut it down, Zuri whispered. I swore on her grave I'd end it. Every route, every contact, every piece of that machine. He took her hands. You saved me that night without knowing you were saving yourself too. Because looking at you, seeing what you were willing to do to save your father, I remembered why I burned it all down in the first place. What do we do now? I'm going to burn Taehyun's operation to the ground. Whatever he's building, whoever he's working with, I'll destroy it. His eyes were fierce. But you need to disappear. Tonight. I'll send you somewhere safe, somewhere they can't. I'm not leaving you. Z. I'm not leaving you to fight this alone. She gripped his hands back. You saved my life. You gave me my father back. You reminded me I'm not just something to be used and discarded. Tears streamed down her face. I'm not leaving you. He stared at her like she was something impossible. Then he pulled her close, and his lips found hers. The kiss was desperate, passionate, dangerous, a declaration of war and love all at once. His hands tangled in her hair, her fingers clutched his jacket, and for one perfect moment, nothing else existed. His phone buzzed against her hip. They broke apart, breathing hard. Jae-minute looked at the screen, and his expression went cold. What is it? He showed her the message. Your pet project has been approved for acquisition. Taehyun was coming for her. Zuri woke to unfamiliar ceiling. Silk sheets. Designer furniture. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a part of Seoul she didn't recognize. Her head throbbed. She tried to remember leaving Jae-minut's apartment building, Minute-suk waiting by the car, then, nothing. A cloth over her face. Chemical sweetness. Darkness. The door opened. Taehyun entered, carrying a tray with tea and pastries, still wearing that warm, concerned smile. You're awake. Good. Don't be afraid, Ziri. I'm protecting you from Jae-minute. She sat up too fast, the room spinning. What, where? My private residence. Somewhere safe. He set the tray on the bedside table. I'm sorry about the chloroform, but you wouldn't have come willingly, and I needed to get you away from my brother before he destroyed you completely. You kidnapped me. I saved you. He sat in the chair across from the bed, his expression earnest. Ziri, my brother is sick. Obsessive. He ruins everything he touches. Our mother, his previous relationships, every legitimate business he's tried to run. He pulled out a tablet, showing her photos. Jae-minute standing over blooded bodies. Police reports with his name. Kill orders bearing his signature. This is who he really is. A monster playing at humanity. Taehyun's voice was gentle, pitying. He's using you to rebel against me, against the family. Some twisted way of proving he's different from father. But when he's done, when the novelty wears off, he'll discard you. Or worse. The photos swam before her eyes. Evidence. Proof. But something in her chest rejected it. He saved me, she whispered. He trapped you. Made you dependent. Classic predator behavior. Taehyun leaned forward. I can help you disappear properly. New identity, new city, money for your father's continued care. All you have to do is walk away. Across the city, Jae-minute tore his office apart. The desk went over. The chair through the window. Papers scattered like snow. Minute-suk stood in the doorway, phone pressed to his ear, coordinating search teams. Boss, we'll find her. I swear. You were supposed to be guarding her. Jae-minute's roar shook the walls. She was your responsibility. I know. I'm sorry. The driver, he was one of ours, I verified. Then someone got to him. Jae-minute grabbed Minute-suk by the collar. If he hurts her, I'll kill him. Brother or not. Blood or not. I will end him. Minute-suk's eyes widened. Boss. I love her. The words came out broken. I didn't know I could. Didn't think I had that left in me after everything father carved away. But I do. I love her, and now she's gone, and I. His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered instantly. Heavy breathing. Then Zuri's voice, barely a whisper. It's not your brother. It's her. Don't Kamal. The line went dead. Back in Taehyun's residence, the door opened again. But it wasn't Taehyun. Hannah entered, and she was nothing like the elegant wife from dinner. Her smile was sharp, predatory, real. Well done, husband. She actually believed the concerned brother routine. She looked at Ziri with cold amusement. Taehyun is useful but weak. Jae-minute is dangerous but emotional. You, my dear, are the perfect pressure point. Zuri's blood ran cold. You. The gift basket. Mine. The stalkers. My employees. The whole elaborate dance to make Jae-minute paranoid and protective. Hannah laughed. All me. I've been building my own empire using their family name. Restarting the trafficking routes, expanding territories, making real money. But Jae-minute's inconvenient morality kept getting in the way. Hannah, maybe we should. Taehyun started. Quiet. She didn't even look at him. To Zuri, you have two choices. Convince Jae-minute to rejoin the old trade, use whatever influence you have over him, or I'll frame him for crimes that will put him in prison forever. Murder, trafficking, terrorism. I have the evidence planted. One phone call. Either way, you're my leverage now. Hannah pulled out a phone. And leverage only works if it's threatened. Taehyun, you can't let her. But Taehyun looked away, and Ziri understood. He didn't know the full extent of his wife's plan. He thought this was about protecting family honor, keeping Jae-minute in line. He had no idea he'd married the real monster. Hannah left, locking the door. Ziri searched frantically and found it. A phone hidden in a drawer, probably from a previous victim. Battery at 3%. She typed fast, "It's not your brother. It's her. Don't come alone. Send." The door burst open. Hannah stood there, fury twisting her beautiful face. She grabbed the phone, smashed it against the wall. Clever girl. But it doesn't matter. She smiled. He'll come anyway. Men like him always do. And I'll be ready. Jae-minute stared at his phone screen, the incomplete message burning into his retinas. It's not your brother. It's H. H, not he. Ha. Hannah. The name tasted like poison. He called Minetsuk immediately. Gather every piece of evidence we have on Hannah. Financial records, shell companies, communication logs. Everything. Silence on the other end. Then, boss, you were already investigating her? For 6 months. Jae-minute was already moving, grabbing his jacket, his gun. I noticed discrepancies in family accounts. Money moving through channels I'd shut down. I just needed proof before accusing my brother's wife of being a criminal mastermind. What's the play? I'm going to Taehyun. Meet me at the main house in 20 minutes. Bring the files. The confrontation happened in their father's old study, surrounded by the ghost of the man who destroyed them both in different ways. Taehyun sat behind the desk, his usual composure cracking when Jae-minute spread the evidence across the mahogany surface. Bank statements. Shipping manifests. Encrypted messages decoded. Communications with their father's old trafficking contacts. All signed off by Hannah. No. Taehyun's voice was barely a whisper. She wouldn't. She did. She's been rebuilding the trade routes for 2 years. Using your name, your authority, your trust. Jae-minute leaned forward. She took Ziri. She's been manipulating both of us, keeping us divided while she built an empire on our family's worst sins. Taehyun's hands shook as he flipped through the documents. His perfect world, his perfect wife, shattering with each page. I thought I was protecting our family, he said finally, voice hollow. I thought you were the problem. Weak. Emotional. Destroying father's legacy. We both were blind, Jae-minute said quietly. To different things. You believed father's lies about strength. I believed you'd chosen them over humanity. We were both wrong. Taehyun looked up, and for the first time since childhood, his eyes held tears. She has your girl? Yes. Then we get her back. He stood, and in that moment, the brothers who'd spent years as enemies became allies. Together. In her prison, Ziri pressed her ear against the door, listening to Hannah's phone conversation in the hall. Yes, the shipment arrives Thursday. 24 this time. The warehouse in Incheon is ready. A pause. No, the brothers are too busy fighting over the girl to notice. Perfect timing. 2 days. Zuri's mind raced. 24 women about to be trafficked because this monster was using her as a distraction. She'd spent hours examining her room, and she'd found something, art supplies in the closet, probably from a previous victim. She'd also found official-looking letterhead in a desk drawer. Her hands moved quickly, her illustration skills put to horrific use. She forged a cooperation agreement, made it look official, aged it with coffee stains. Added signatures she'd copied from documents she'd glimpsed. When the guard brought dinner, she was ready. Hannah sent me here to work with her, not against her, Zuri said calmly, showing the document. Check with her if you want, but she'll be angry you doubted me. I'm supposed to be designing the new branding for the distribution network. The guard hesitated. The document looked real. And Hannah did have a temper. I need to send some files to my tablet, Zuri continued. The food delivery guy, can he take a note to my office? Just the address and access codes. The guard nodded slowly. I'll check with. Of course. But the deadline is tonight. If I miss it. She let the threat hang. He took the note. Inside, she'd written coordinates and SOS, Zuri in tiny letters along the margin. Praying someone, anyone, would see it. Jaminet's phone rang 30 minutes later. Mr. Kang? This is Seoul Metro Police. We received a distress note from a food delivery. The coordinates lead to a private residence registered to Kang Taehyun. We're preparing to. Give me 1 hour before you raid, Jae-minet interrupted. I need to get someone out first. After that, you'll have everything you need to bring down a trafficking network. Mr. Kang, we can't. 1 hour. Then I'll hand you evidence of the biggest human trafficking operation Seoul's seen in 5 years. You'll get arrests, convictions, and justice. But I need to get an innocent woman out first. A long pause. 1 hour. Then we're coming in. Jae-minet turned to Taehyun and Minute-suk. We go in separately. Taehyun, Hannah trusts you. Use that. Minute-suk. I've been feeding you intel for months, boss, Minute-suk said quietly. I'm already inside her operation. She thinks I'm her spy on you. Jae-minet's eyes widened. You hired me to protect you. Sometimes that means going deep undercover. Minute-suk pulled out his phone. I know the guard rotation, the security codes, everything. Let's get your girl back. Inside, Zuri had managed to unlock her door using a bent hairpin, a skill learned from a childhood spent picking her way into locked pantries when her family couldn't afford food. Some survival skills never left you. She moved through corridors silently, following the sound of machinery. What she found made her blood freeze. The processing room. Empty cages lined the walls, chains hanging from ceiling hooks, medical equipment that spoke of horror. This was where they broke women before selling them. She found a small camera hidden in a vent, probably for Hannah's security footage. She took it, began photographing everything. Evidence. Proof. Justice. Zuri. She spun. Jae-minet stood at the doorway, and the relief that flooded through her nearly brought her to her knees. He crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling her against him. No words. Just his arms around her, solid and real, his heart hammering against hers. You came, she whispered. Always. His voice cracked. Are you hurt? No, but Jae-minet, there's a shipment coming. I know. We're ending it tonight. Behind them, a slow clap echoed through the room. Hannah stood in the doorway, flanked by 6 armed guards, a gun in her hand pointed directly at them. How touching, she said, her smile venomous. But you're not leaving. Either of you. The standoff crystallized into terrible clarity, Hannah with her guards, Jae-minet positioning himself between the gun and Zuri, and then Taehyun emerged from the shadows behind Hannah's men, his own weapon drawn. Taehyun, darling. Hannah's voice was honey over steel. Kill your brother, or I'll kill the girl. Choose your family. Taehyun raised his gun. For one terrible moment, Zuri thought he'd actually do it. Then he aimed at Hannah. You used my family name to traffic human beings. His voice shook with fury. My mother died because of this trade. Because men like my father treated women like commodities. I spent years trying to honor his legacy, not understanding it was built on graves. He stepped forward. I won't let you resurrect it. Taehyun, you're making a mistake. My only mistake was trusting you. Chaos erupted. The guards opened fire. Jae-minet pulled Zuri behind a metal table as bullets sparked off equipment. Taehyun dove for cover, returning fire. But they were outnumbered, outgunned. Zuri's mind raced. She wasn't helpless. Not anymore. She grabbed a container of industrial cleaner from the supply shelf, threw it at the nearest guard. The bottle exploded across his face, he screamed, clawing at his eyes. She slammed her palm against the fire alarm panel. Sirens wailed, sprinkler systems engaged, water flooding the room. Smart girl. J-Minute shouted over the chaos. Minute-Suk burst through the opposite entrance with 4 men. Boss, let's even these odds. The fight became brutal and close. J-Minute moved like violence personified, every scar on his body a lesson in survival he'd learned the hard way. He protected Zuri while dismantling guards with efficient, lethal precision. Taehyun and Hannah's confrontation was different, personal, years of deception exploding into raw violence. They'd shared a bed, shared vows, shared a life built on lies. I loved you. Taehyun's voice broke as their struggle crashed them against the cages. You loved the idea of me, Hannah spat back. The perfect wife. The obedient woman. I was building an empire while you played at honor. She kicked free, aimed her gun. Zuri threw another chemical container. It struck Hannah's arm, the shot going wild. You ruined my life, Zuri screamed. Used my desperation, but I'm not your victim anymore. Hannah, cornered and desperate, revealed her final card. You think I worked alone? Your father's old partners are here. They're taking over. You've won nothing. As if summoned, 3 men in expensive suits entered the old guard, the original architects of the Kang family's trafficking empire. But they were in handcuffs. Police flooded in behind them, led by a prosecutor Zuri had never seen before. The raid was perfectly timed, overwhelming. J-Minute stepped forward, and his voice carried over the chaos. I've been working with prosecutors for 8 months. Every shipment, every transaction, every name. I documented it all. Built the case from inside. He looked at Hannah. You weren't rebuilding my father's empire. You were building your own prison. The prosecutor held up a tablet. We have 8 months of evidence. Financial records, communications, testimony. But we needed proof of active operations. He looked at Zuri. Your photographs from 30 minutes ago, the processing room, the equipment, the coordination notes you found, that's our conspiracy charge. The final piece. Zuri's impromptu evidence gathering had sealed the case. Hannah's face twisted with rage. No. No. She lunged, a knife appearing in her hand, heading straight for Zuri with desperate, murderous intent. J-Minute moved faster. He stepped into the blade's path. It sank into his shoulder instead of Zuri's chest. He grunted with pain but didn't fall, his hand catching Hannah's wrist and twisting until the knife clattered to the wet floor. Taehyun was there instantly, pulling Hannah away, forcing her to the ground. Enough. It's over. Police swarmed in, cuffing Hannah and the remaining guards. The sirens outside multiplied, ambulances, more police, media vans drawn by the chaos. Zuri caught J-Minute as he swayed. You're bleeding. Shoulder wound. I've had worse. But his face was pale, his breathing shallow. Paramedics rushed in. As they worked on J-Minute's wound, Taehyun approached, his expression devastated. You saved us all, he said quietly. The family, the name, everything. And I couldn't see it. I'm sorry, brother. For everything. J-Minute managed a weak smile. Just, take care of the family name now. Make it mean something clean. I'm done with it. A detective approached Zuri. Ms. Adebayo? We need your statement. She provided everything, the kidnapping, Hannah's confession, the evidence she'd photographed. She even pulled the tiny recording device she'd found and activated in the processing room. Every word captured. You were incredibly brave, the officer said with genuine admiration. I was incredibly scared, Zuri corrected, watching paramedics load J-Minute onto a stretcher. But I had a reason to survive. She climbed into the ambulance with him, holding his uninjured hand. His eyes fluttered open. Did we win? He asked, voice drowsy from pain medication. Zuri squeezed his hand, tears streaming down her face. We survived. That's better. His smile was real this time. Yeah, it is. 3 months later. The gallery lights cast soft shadows across Zuri's exhibition. Scars and Silk, the title hung in elegant letters above her collection. Each piece told a story, desperation transformed into hope, darkness carved into light, survival evolving into life. Her father stood before the centerpiece, tears streaming down his healthy face. Her mother held his arm, both of them dressed in their finest, pride radiating from every pore. "My daughter," her father whispered in Yoruba. "You turned pain into beauty." International press clustered around, cameras flashing. From desperation to inspiration, the headlines would read tomorrow. But tonight, Zuri only cared about one person's opinion. J-Minute stood across the room, no longer the cold Mafia enforcer but something softer. He'd left the Baekseong organization officially, transferring his territories to Taehyun, who was slowly, painfully, transforming the family business into something legitimate. Now J-Minute ran an anti-trafficking non-profit, using his dark knowledge to dismantle the networks he once knew intimately. His scars, once symbols of shame, had become his credentials. Proof he understood the darkness he fought against. "This one," he said, studying a painting of hands reaching through rain, "this is us." The night we met, Zuri confirmed. They were taking things slow. Therapy twice a week, separately and together. Learning to trust, to communicate, to build something real from the wreckage of their pasts. No rushing toward marriage, but a deep, genuine commitment that grew stronger daily. Minute-suk ran security for the non-profit now, still protecting his boss, just in a different battlefield. Taehyun visited monthly, bringing business updates and slowly, carefully, rebuilding the brotherhood their father had destroyed. Hannah's network had been completely dismantled, 4 to 7 women rescued, given new lives, new hope. Zuri volunteered with them, using art therapy to help survivors reclaim their voices. Later that night, Zuri and J-Minute walked along the Han River Bridge, Seoul's lights reflecting off the water like scattered stars. She traced the scar on his collarbone gently. "These are my favorite parts of you. You know I'm still broken in places." His voice held vulnerability he'd never have shown 3 months ago. "So am I." She smiled. "We'll heal together. That's the point." J-Minute reached into his pocket, pulling out a simple silver bracelet. Not a ring, too soon for that, and they both knew it. But a promise nonetheless. "For when you're ready," he said softly. She held it up to the light, reading the engraving, "You made me fast into slow." Tears blurred her vision. That desperate whisper from their first night, "Please, just make it fast," transformed into something beautiful. He'd made everything slow, the healing, the loving, the living. Taught her that rushing through pain only made it last longer. "It's perfect," she whispered. He clasped it around her wrist, then pulled her close. Their kiss was slow, tender, full of promise and possibility. Behind them, Seoul glowed, a city that had nearly destroyed them both, now witness to their rebirth. Zuri's voiceover echoed over the final image, "I walked into darkness to save my father. I found the man who saved us both. Not because he was perfect, but because we both learned that surviving isn't enough. You have to choose to live." The camera pulled back, their silhouettes against the shimmering skyline, hands intertwined, walking forward into a future they'd fought to deserve. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button. Subscribe to see more stories about love that heals, courage that transforms, and choosing life over mere survival. And tell me in the comments, what would you risk everything to save? Your answer might inspire our next story. Until then, remember, your scars don't define you. How you heal from them does.